Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be comparing the Glock 26 versus the Glock 43. Both of these are aftermarket builds. Let me fire a couple of shots and then we'll talk a little bit more. I've got a target out there, the white target, at 65 yards. You guys have seen me in other videos where I zoom in, so I'm not going to bother doing that again. But we're shooting 65 yards. You guys are listening for the ding to see how many hits I get. I'm going to start off with the Glock 43 first. I'm using the Shield Arms magazine, 9 in the magazine plus 1 in the chamber, so 10 rounds. One hit, the last one hit. All right, put this down. I got 10 in here too. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. I got 10 in here. I am not putting one around the chamber because I just want to keep it 10 instead of 11. Same deal, 65 yards. So I got 3 out of 10 at 65 yards. A lot of times, okay, so I got 1. I got 1 out of 10 here, 3 out of 10 here. I think my best is usually, well, my average really is 3 out of 10 on the 43 and 5 out of 10 on the G26. Okay, so on average, I always do better on the G26. I mean, sometimes there'll be a fluke where I do better on the G43, but on average, I will do better. You know, I usually come in 5 out of 10 versus 3 out of 10. Okay, at 65 yards specifically. I've been testing this out now for about 2 weeks. My best, I have hit as high as 6 out of 10 with the G43, but that's a fluke. I've hit 5 out of 10 on a couple of occasions, but it takes a lot of work and some luck. Whereas with the G26, I can get 5 out of 10 on a more regular basis. Okay, and sometimes I think I've gone as high as 7 out of 10 on the G26. I don't remember exactly offhand. Okay, so anyway, let's talk about these two guns. So the first thing I'm going to say is that the G26 is a better gun. Okay, it is a better gun. However, I do carry a G43. Okay, so there's a couple of things that are gonna be somewhat conflicting here. Okay, why am I carrying a G43 when I know that the G26 is a better gun? And the main reason, right, is convenience. This is a flatter, smaller gun, and you notice I'm carrying it with a flush 10-round magazine. Let's compare the 26 versus the 43 side by side. Okay, so when I hold these two guns up like this, you'll see that they have pretty much almost the exact same footprint. Okay, so the only place where there's a difference is in the thickness. In the thickness, the G26 is fatter, and it almost doesn't look like it's a whole lot fatter, but when you sit down and you put this inside the waistband and you sit down in the car seat, you will notice that difference. Okay, now let me say this though, the G26 was really the first Glock that I was able to comfortably carry every day. The G17 way too big, G19 way too big. The G26 was the first Glock that I came across that I was comfortably able to carry, and this is the one that I carried, and basically I keep this loaded in the holster, ready to go if I do decide I want to carry this. and a reason why I may want to go back at some point to carrying a G26, right? If let's say there was riots or something in my area, the great thing about the G26, right? I can carry this with the flush 10-round magazine, right? But I can keep G17 magazines in the glove compartment, on my dashboard, wherever, in my office, and the G26 will take a G17 magazine, and now I have 17-round capacity. Don't try carrying any of the extended ones. I have tested them. They're unreliable. Even the Glock OEM ones, which are kind of probably the most reliable as far as the extended magazines, they're like maybe 98% or something, okay? But the 17 mags, they're very reliable. Even these aftermarket ETS ones, they're pretty reliable. I have shot this gun enough times with the ETS 10-round magazine that I had no trouble. I had no problems carrying this. I've never had a jam in these 10-round magazines, mainly because they're so short. You know, there's little chance of anything going wrong with it. When you get to the longer magazines and the spring is doing that kind of stuff, there's and it gets tangled up, you tend to have problems. Okay? So like I said, that's one of the benefits of the G26. Okay, if you carry that gun, all right, you have the benefit of having as a backup magazine a G17 magazine, and now all of a sudden you've got the same firepower as a Glock 17. Okay, now with the G43, okay, this one I carry with a flush 10-round magazine. Okay, I do not like the pinky extensions because that little extra ½ inch makes a difference when you sit down in the car seat. Okay, now I have been testing out the Z9. Okay, this is from Shield Arms. This is a 9-round magazine and then you got one in the chamber, so it gives you a total of 10 rounds, and it's basically you've got that pinky extension. I've been testing this out for about 2 weeks. I've already formed an opinion that I'm not going to carry this. Number one, it does increase the, it does make the gun a little bit less reliable. Okay, so, and we're talking about maybe 1 percentage point. Okay, it makes the gun unreliable by 1 percentage point. The other thing is the fact that it sticks out. I don't like that when I sit down in the car seat. So this is okay for training, but I'm not ready to carry this yet. Okay, and like I said, the main thing here is that I want it flush. I really want my magazines flush, so that's why, regardless of which gun I would be carrying, I would either be carrying the G26 with the flush 10-round magazine or the G43 with the flush 6-round magazine. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about reliability. Okay, so here's the thing. I got a G43 here. Okay, one of the things that you cannot say is that the reliability history of the Glock 17, which I have here, this is a factory Glock 17, up to 90,000 rounds. Okay, you cannot say that the reliability of this gun transfers over to the Glock 43 because this uses entirely different parts. Now they're the same parts but scaled down, but they are scaled down. So there are some issues there. Now they also did change the firing pin head. Okay, with the Glock 17, 19, 26, the firing pin head is like an arrowhead design, and what happens with these Glocks, a lot of times after the gun fires and the slide comes back, you see how the firing pin hangs forward. All right, get this into focus. Okay, you can kind of see it there, right? You see how that firing pin, there it is. See how the firing pin head is hanging forward? You can see the shiny part. Okay, well, what happens, there it is. There's a good view of it. Okay, so what happens is when the as the slide goes forward and it picks up the next round, the back of the case comes up and it pushes on that firing pin and it pushes it back, and then as the slide closes, then it makes contact. Then basically the sear makes contact with the firing pin lug, and it pulls it back all the way. So, but as it's feeding, okay, that firing pin head is a lot of times is hanging forward, and the case will come up and push it back a little bit. So when they with the G43, okay, they changed that design. Yep. So now this one has a nipple design. I don't know why they did it, but they must have had some reason for changing it. See how the shiny part there? See the firing pin, how it hangs forward? Okay, there it is, there's in focus, right? So it's hanging forward there. So as it feeds, same deal. It goes forward, right? Picks up the next round. As the round goes in, it comes up. It hits the bottom of that firing pin head. There's a little bit of a slant to push it back, but it's not a really good slant. And on some aftermarket firing pins, it will hang up. It will actually jam because the case hits the bottom of that firing pin head and gets stuck on it. And it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens, and it also stresses it out, and it ends up breaking the firing pin head. I have pretty much broken every firing pin head off of every aftermarket firing pin for the Glock 43 that I have bought, with the exception of the one that I got from Aim Surplus, right? The one I have in here now is the billet striker from Aim Surplus. It's a billet striker. It works pretty good. I don't see it getting, I don't see the case striking it and jamming it. I've got a couple hundred rounds on this, like closer to 500, 600. Has not broken, so that is a good one. But it shows me that this is, not the best design, basically. I don't know why they changed the firing pin head design, but it is causing some problems. I imagine even with a Glock OEM firing pin, it's still stressing it out. So, like this Glock 17 here, right? This one went 75,000 rounds. Okay, all original parts, recoil springs, everything, all firing pin, everything, all original parts. So I don't think that even with a Glock OEM firing pin, I don't think it's going to go 75,000 rounds. I don't think it's, it's just the design, the way that that firing pin is being stressed. I don't think it's going to go that far. I mean, it might go 10 or 20, but it's not going to go 75,000 rounds. So at 75,000 rounds, the trigger spring broke on this. At the time, I didn't know how to build guns, so I sent it out to Glock. They replaced it, and then it went another 10,000 rounds, and then the trigger spring broke again. So it's interesting how the first time it went 75,000 rounds, and the second time it only went another 10,000 rounds, because it came from, like, Glock put it in there, right? So this actually went back to Glock. So there is a little bit of that chance. But this gun's up to about 95,000 rounds now, and it is a very reliable gun. I have seen in those 95,000 rounds, I have seen very few jams. Now, don't let anybody tell you that their gun never jams. Any gun will jam. Any semi-automatic gun will jam if you're not holding it firmly. Because the way this gun works, the bottom of the gun has to stay still while the slide's going back and forth. Okay, that's how the gun works. Okay, because basically by holding the frame, you're transferring the energy to the slide, and then the slide goes back, ejects the case, goes forward, picks up the next round. And I can prove it to you guys. I got a fully reliable gun here. I'm gonna put some rounds in there. All right, that's a factory Glock, all original parts. I can jam it at will. Anytime I want to jam that gun, or any Glock you bring me, or any 1911, or any SIG, or any Beretta, or any Canic, or whatever, you bring me a handgun and you tell me to jam it, I will jam it for you. Okay? It's just, the gun is dependent on you holding it properly. My ears on. So I'm going to take a couple of shots first just to demonstrate that the gun is reliable. Now I'm going to jam it. Okay. Let's see if it fires. Click. I jammed it at will. I jammed this gun up anytime I want to jam it, okay? Because there's certain techniques or lack of technique that will jam the gun. All right, let's see what happened in there. Okay, so it failed to eject the case, right? Case failed to eject because I intentionally used bad technique, and I can do that anytime you want on any pistol you want, okay? All right, so now we have determined that holding the gun has a whole lot to do with the reliability of the gun, how firmly you can hold it. Let's go back to the G26 and G43. Because these guns are smaller, okay, and you have less, basically you're holding the gun with 2 fingers here, right? Because the gun is smaller and you get less grip on it, it is a lot easier to jam this gun, and same can be said for this gun, right? Because again, it is smaller. We only got 2 fingers here. It is a lot easier to jam this gun. And all that means is it just takes more practice, more training. And one of the things that I do, okay, I practice shooting one-handed, right? You gotta get good at shooting one-handed in your offhand, right? If you're righty, you gotta be able to shoot the gun in your left hand, or if you're left-handed, you gotta be able to shoot the gun in your right hand. And only when you get good at that can you feel comfortable that you. Oops, I put this in the wrong. I meant to shoot that gun, but whatever. I'll just shoot that gun. All right, so we're gonna do some one-handed shooting now, right? Moving and shooting to the left, right? So. All the way to lockout, okay? So the reason why I can do that in my left hand, get some hits, not jam the gun, is because I practiced this, okay? So that's an important thing to understand with these small guns. You have to get really good at shooting the gun. It takes a lot of practice, and until you get to the point where you can shoot it in your offhand, one-handed, moving, you probably can't have confidence that you would be able to shoot this gun without jamming it in a stressful situation. Because in a stressful situation, you're not going to be out of the holster, perfect isosceles triangle on target. You might be like, like this, fighting like this or like that. You might be in some weird, awkward position trying to fight somebody off on your back, on top of the hood of your car. And you got to be able to shoot the gun the way I was doing it in your in your offhand while moving around, not having, perfect presentation, not having perfect footing, okay? Because I was shooting like between my steps, okay? So that's one of the things to know with the small guns as we're comparing the Glock 26 to the Glock 43. Because the guns are smaller, it is easier for you to jam the gun if you don't have a firm grip on it. And again, the frame has to stay steady while this goes back. And it doesn't matter if you're holding it here, you still have to hold the gun firmly, even if you're shooting it here, right, or here, which is like the situation if somebody's hitting you and you're holding the gun here. You got to hold it firmly here so that the gun will cycle properly. And of course, that is a lot easier to do with a bigger gun that has a bigger grip, that you can get more fingers on it, okay? That all said, like I said, with the Glock 43, they re-engineered the parts and made them smaller, okay? So this has different parts in there. So the reliability that the Glock 17 and the Glock 19 built up does not transfer over to this gun, right? That's not automatic, because this has got different parts in there. They might look the same, they might just be a little smaller, but they're different parts. However, the parts that went into the 26 are the same parts. They're the same parts except for the barrel, the recoil spring, and the slide lock spring. The little spring that goes in here. But basically your firing pin, your safety plunger, your extractor, the extractor rod, the trigger group, right? I can take the trigger group out of the Glock 17, throw it in here. All that's the same. The magazine release, all that's the same. Okay, so because like 95% of the parts from this gun went into this gun and they're interchangeable, that's why I consider the Glock 26 a far more reliable gun. But the main advantage of this is it will take a Glock 17 mag. Okay, so I was carrying this, and I have a version here that I was carrying. Right? When I carry this, I will carry this with a flush 10-round magazine. Okay, and use the 17-round magazine in the glove compartment in my office. You know, in my house, in the safe, under the bed, under the pillow, wherever. Right. So this gun will work. The G26 will work G17 magazines. But there's another major advantage of the Glock 26, and that's in optics. Okay, the Glock 26, you got it basically, because the slide is the same size as the Glock 17. You have a lot more choices in optics. This one over here, I have it with the Holosun. Where are you? That's the Holosun 507C, which is nice because that's solar powered with a battery backup. Okay, there's the older version. It's got the buttons up and down. But there's actually and with this one over here, I gotta get to my iron sight. If I lose that big circle, I go to my iron sights. But the other one that I used to carry, okay, this one has the ACSS, which is a vastly superior aiming system, right? Because you see how it's got that circle? See the edge? Well, that edge guides you to the center. When it's all the way out, you don't see the circle on the edge. You only see it when it comes in. Like there, you can see the whole thing. If it's close. But when it goes to full extension, all you see is the edge. And that, if you see the edge, you know which direction to go to get on point. So you don't even need iron sights on this, even though I have them. You don't need iron sights. So with the Glock 43, that's not an option right now. Okay, the only option is the 507K, which is just that 32 M-way circle, right? See, I gotta go to my, because I'm behind the camera now, not using perfect presentation. So when I'm off like this, how do I find it? I pretty much have to go to my iron sights in order to find my circle. All right. So that's the other thing that's limiting on the Glock 43. The optics. They have not developed an optic for this that has the ACSS reticle, which is the best reticle I have seen to date for a pistol. Now, that all said, I carry a Glock 43. Despite its shortcomings, the fact is I'm not likely to have to defend my life on any given day because I live in a low crime area. It's not like the freaking bears are gonna attack me out here. In fact, they look at me and they expect me to feed them. Okay, that's the kind of bears I got around here. It's not like a Sasquatch is gonna jump out of trees and attack me. So that's why I carry a Glock 43, which is a lot more comfortable, a lot thinner, makes all the difference in the world when I sit down in the car. However, back in 2020, when they had all the riots and stuff going on, and I didn't have any close in my area, but I think the closest was, I don't know, 2.5, 3 hours away in Philadelphia. Okay, I was carrying the Glock 26. Okay, this is the gun I went to. And I was carrying this, and I had the 17-round magazines planted all over the place. Okay, so in my opinion, you need both, right? You need a Glock 43 and a Glock 26 and a Glock 17 and a Glock 19 and whatever else they make. But yeah, and basically you decide which one you need, given what's going on in the news. Okay, so I just want to kind of lay it out there and give you guys an overview of these different options that are available, and specifically focusing on the 43 versus the 26, because in my opinion, those are the only real everyday carry options. Now, I know that they make a Glock 43X, which I have tried out, which is longer, right? It's kind of, it kind of sticks out like this. I tried it out, sat in the car, did not like it. So that's why we're not even talking about the 43X or the 48 or whatever. It's bigger. I don't want bigger, okay? I don't want bigger. The Glock 43 and 26 are the only guns that have this footprint size, right? I don't want the longer grip over here that's going to hit the back of the car seat. This is the size that I want. The only difference is the 26 is thicker, so unless there's stuff going on around town, I'm not going to carry the 26. I'm going to carry the 43. I think that's it. I think I said everything I wanted to tell you guys, I did carry the Shield 9 for a while. That was really a decent sized gun, but again, it was just a tad bit bigger. It was thinner than the 26, but the grip was a little bit longer, so I didn't like that. So again, that's why as soon as I built this, I actually went from the Shield 9 to the 26, which basically was smaller. It was fatter, but smaller. It still made it more comfortable to carry. So let me know what you guys think. If you got any questions, comments, let me know. If you're not a member of my channel, subscribe. I'll talk to you all soon. Make sure you guys are following me on my uncensored platforms. On Odyssey, I'm Pocono Tactical. On Rumble, I'm Pocono Guns. Talk to you all soon. Hey everyone, really quick, one more thing I wanted to add. As far as the extended magazines, because a lot of times people like to use them because they get that extra finger on there. Aside from the fact that now this is pretty much as long as like a Glock 19, be aware that putting a finger on the magazine can cause a jam, okay? Not always, right? It's probably going to be reliable like 99.5% of the time, but there's that 0.05%, that 0.5% chance where where that can cause a jam. Right, so you take any one of these, I mean, even if you take a Glock OEM magazine, right? If I take a flat 6-round magazine, and I'm sorry, earlier I kept saying 10-round magazines. The Glock magazines are the 6-round magazine. The Shield Arms are the 9-round magazine. Okay, so this one is 6+1 in the chamber. This one is 9+1 in the chamber. And here's the thing: when you put the Glock OEM in there, right? Even if with this one, if I put a lot of movement over here, you can see how that moves a little bit, right? But the thing is, when you're holding this, you're not putting a whole lot of pressure on the magazine because you're really not holding on to the magazine. However, on any time you use an extended magazine, and this is probably on any gun, right? Now all of a sudden your finger's on the magazine, and as I see how that wiggles, okay. So that same wiggle will happen even with a Glock OEM magazine. But right, I can wiggle this back and forth, right? But the difference is that my finger doesn't rest on this, right? And you know, depending on how hard I squeeze it, move it. Whereas with this one, because my finger's rested on it, depending on what's going on, that can move, that can change the angle slightly. So that's going to increase the chance of jamming by some small percentage. Okay, so I just wanted to add that. Actually, I had that in mind while I was doing the video, and then it kind of just slipped out, and I remembered while I was just reviewing the video. I'll talk to y'all soon.